Welcome to The Modern Hotelier, presented by Stay Flexi. I'm your host, David Malilly.
And I'm Steve.Carran.
Steve, let everyone know what we're planning to do today on the program.
Yeah, David, today we're doing something a little bit different. Today we're giving a quick recap of getting to know our first 10 guests. If you missed an episode, this is a fun way to get to know the guests that we have had on in the past that you might see on LinkedIn every day. Enjoy.
Enjoy it. So what was your first job in hospitality?
Embassy Suites, Overland Park, Kansas. I was a night auditor, and then I was the breakfast person, and stayed there when I was in the Air Force part-time for a couple of years. If you don't count busboy and valet parker and Frankfurter giver-outer.
Do you have a favorite hotel?
La Residencia in Mallorca, Spain, at the Plaza Hotel, and of course, my favorite, the Algonquin.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen in a hotel?
Dude, that's like asking, the Pope what was the most religious
Give us one.
thing on earth. A gun underneath the bed.
What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't in hospitality?
Legitimately being your luggage carrier. Good. I would probably be a professional poker player, 100%. You knew that.
Do you have a secret talent that nobody knows you have?
I can juggle.
What's your favorite adult beverage?
You answer that.
Johnny Walker Blue. What's a sound or noise that you love?
Oh, my kids, anything. And as you know, my kids are not kids anymore. They're adults. My twins are 22 and my baby's 19.
Why is Coney Island so special to you?
Because my father painted the parachute ride, and my dad died when I was 2. So every time I see the parachute ride, matter of fact, I always say if you see me like on Instagram taking a picture of me near the parachute ride in my car, that means I'm having a day where I really need like focus and I need support. Okay. So I go there to get focus and support from my dad.
What's a perfect day like for you in Las Vegas?
Why don't you answer that, David?
Sitting at the poker table for 18 hours. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
The ability to make sure my kids are always okay.
So I've been out with you a lot. People recognize you. They scream out, Anthony. Who's the person you get mistaken for the most when you go out? I know some of them, but who do you get the most where people think you're somebody else?
I would say it's very close, but it's Pitbull and very close second, Howie Mandel.
So I've written down the word, but what's the best word to describe you?
Fair.
Oh, I didn't have that one. I had passionate and intense.
A lot of people say, well, he's difficult to work with. He's intense. He's passionate, but he said he's fair. And that was my favorite word to describe him because I am fair. I'm a very fair person.
So Max, what was your first job in hospitality?
I was born and raised in communist Bulgaria back in the day. So tourism, international tourism is the number one economy in the country. So it was very natural for me to gravitate toward tourism in general and hospitality in particular. I worked for a British tour operator on the Black Sea, ski resorts up in the mountains. I was general manager of a club hotel.
What line of work do you think you would have been in if you didn't get into the hospitality business?
It's very interesting because my father was a professor in journalism and in literature. And when all of the other kids enjoyed the company of their fathers who took them to the games, soccer games, or they played with them, my father was reading and writing. And, when I was a kid, I said, I would never write and I would never teach in my life. And actually, that's what I'm doing for the last 30 years at least.
If you could trade places with someone for a day, who would it be?
One of my absolute idols today is Elon Musk. I think that he's the only living genius on this planet today. So I would like maybe not to replace him, but just to spend a day with him and see what his line of thinking and how does he spend a typical day. So this would be one of my dream, if you will, jobs.
Max, are you going to be on one of the first trips to Mars with Elon Musk?
I would love to do it. I've always been fascinated with technology and the space and so forth, and I would love to do it. Believe me. Even at my age, I'm willing to go.
All
no
right.
doubt.
Well, if you do make it to Mars, you have to be on our podcast on Mars.
I will.
Deal. You heard it here.
What was your first job in hospitality?
So I worked for a barbecue pit restaurant through 9th and 10th grade in high school. It's called Red Hot and Blue and it was out in Virginia. And oddly enough, like I had this grandiose idea that I wanted to be a restaurateur, and ended up kind of shifting me to go into culinary school, got a degree out of there. And then I realized that is a very tough business to be in.
Sure is.
So now I sell to hotels, right? Because that's a lot
even
easier.
tougher.
That's right.
What's your favorite hotel?
I've got a family and kids, and we've been doing a lot of staycationing, I would say, over the last few years. We live down in Southern California, and I'm typically an independent hotel guy, but I got to tell you, the Omni La Costa, just for where we are, our point in our life, where our family's at, the ages of our kids, the proximity to us, it's been a savior to our family, I would say, over the course of the last 2 years. So that would probably be my kind of close to home, close to heart. Let's call it my West Coast. And then I have this great affinity for the Archer Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. I've had drinks there with my wife many a times, staring at the Empire State Building, in some of our escapades out in Manhattan when we get a chance to go out there. So I'd say those two are kind of my top 1 and 2.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in a hotel?
So I've seen some pretty weird, like, people in specific hotels. So if that's the question, I have a lot of answers for that. But I'll tell you a story about a hotel that I will never forget. And if you're from New York, Dave, as you are, you probably know this hotel. I don't know if it's still around. It's called the Carter.
Oh yeah, it's changed, but I have stories about the Carter also.
Here's the thing that I remember the most about it. I remember kind of coming down into the lobby of the Carter to like go out to the festivities close to Times Square and do the whole, New York thing. The staircase kind of cascaded down into the lobby, and it was probably like 40, 45, 50 steps or something like that. And this guy obviously was impaired, right, from the day. But this guy tumbles literally the whole like flight down the stairs, right? Holding a drink, stands up like not a thing happened, didn't spill an ounce of his drink, takes a sip, takes a bow, and walks out the door. I swear to you, God, this is something that my friends and I, like my close group of guy friends that were on that trip with me, we still talk about that guy like to this day. So
That's hilarious.
I don't know if that was weird, but that it was definitely something that I like distinctly remember from a very specific hotel.
Do you think he distinctly remembers it?
Probably not. I'm pretty sure he doesn't remember.
If you could trade places with someone for a day, who would it be? Could be dead or alive.
Oh man, easy. I'm not going back in time. I'm staying right here in the present. My son and I, and my mom and my dad. My mom's from England, by the way. So we are huge Liverpool Premier League football fans. That's soccer for the Americans. I would trade places with Jurgen Klopp for a day in a heartbeat to spend some time at Anfield and sing Never Walk Alone and just do all the things that a quality manager of the best club in the world does. And I would take my son with me because we would get a kick out of it.
What was your first job?
Oh no, I'm embarrassed to admit it. Oh gosh. Okay. You guys are really digging deep here. So actually my very, very first job, I worked at a Renaissance festival. I know.
Turkey legs.
Yes.
Nobody was thinking this at all. I was a fairy sprite at the Renaissance Festival.
That's good. So what do you think you'd be doing if you weren't in hospitality?
I always had a real interest for media and politics. So, which I mean, obviously I do cover, quite a bit of media now, but I went to Georgetown and I studied culture and politics. So probably something, maybe working at a news station or something like that.
So what's the weirdest thing you've seen in a hotel?
In a nutshell, human behavior is weird, but we've had individuals over the years that would go and like, they'd come and they'd like graffiti the walls. Like that was this weird, and it was just super strange. And then there was somebody who, bless her, but she would actually take her lipstick and then write on the walls with her lipstick. So that's pretty odd.
Who did you admire when you were growing up?
So Princess Diana actually was somebody that I always really admired.
You could take anyone, dead or alive, to lunch. Who would it be and where would you take them?
Oh, goodness gracious.
We're going right at it.
I would say John Belushi.
Yes.
Right?
That's a good one.
Like,
Yes.
talk about a brilliant individual. Just fascinating. But it's fascinating. So
Where would you take him to lunch?
Chateau Marmont. Wait, is that so bad to say? Oops.
Yeah. What's a secret talent you have that nobody knows that you have?
I actually used to do stand-up comedy. So
Oh, wow.
not a lot of people know that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if claiming being funny is a secret talent, but I definitely have that experience. So people don't really know that.
What's your favorite food?
Uh, mangoes. I love fruit.
Hmm.
So random.
What scares you?
Ooh, that is a good question. Not necessarily much scares me per se, but there's a little bit of a fear of being misunderstood. I think that that's the whole thing is that I really want to make sure that I communicate whatever thoughts, opinions correctly so that I'm not misunderstood. That's a big thing that's important to me.
What was your first job?
One of the summers in high school, I worked at a Cumberland Farms, which was a, convenience store, restocking milk and juice and selling pornography to middle-aged men.
It's a good segue. What's the weirdest thing you've seen in a hotel?
I'm not sure if it's the weirdest, but I had to clean up after a suicide in one of our suites in San Francisco, which was very tough and sad. But that's just one of the things. I mean, hotels are notorious for, all sorts of interesting things happen under that roof.
What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't in hospitality?
If I had enough money that I could live comfortably, I'd probably be a professional martial arts teacher.
What's the most unique place you visited?
You didn't ask me what my favorite place to visit is, but I guess I'll go with that, which is that I really feel like Japan is my second home. I've been traveling there for 30 years and I just feel super comfortable. And I'm always sort of exploring and discovering new things while I'm there, both culinary and visually and artistically. It's a fantastic country.
You could trade places with someone for a day. Who would it be?
It would probably be David Malili, I guess. Is the answer. No,
That's
I guess somebody that I'd love to trade places with to sort of follow and see what they're doing on a daily basis would be Jose Andres, the chef. The places that he goes to are so interesting. The amount that he packs into a single day and his life and his work is just astounding to me. So I would love to see what that's made up of.
Do you have a secret talent that nobody knows?
One of my secret talents is that I'm fluent in Japanese, that most people probably don't know about me. And I'm also, I guess another talent is that I've been practicing the martial ways of Japan for about 40 years now.
Any regrets?
So many regrets. I wish I had been more focused and studied harder when I was younger. I wish I had been more focused in my work and understood what it takes to get to where I am today. I think I wasted a lot of years in sort of exploring. I think that there's also some probably benefit from being a little unfocused and exploring a lot. So I'm not totally regretful, but being a little bit more focused when I was younger is probably my greatest regret.
What's something that's on your bucket list?
My bucket list is really to create a design forward, environmentally friendly, fantastically popular indie hotel, which I'm working on. We'll see.
That's awesome.
Last one. Would you rather be Superman, Spider-Man, or Batman?
I guess I'd be Superman because both Batman and Spider-Man have so many psychological issues that I just don't want to deal with that.
What was your first job?
My first job was as a front desk agent in a hotel in Baltimore years and years ago. I worked for a Marriott property on Price Street as a front desk agent, and it was a fun experience. I liked it so much, I decided to stick around. And here I am, still in the industry many, many years later.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen in a hotel?
I've seen all kinds of things. I had a gentleman who was quite upset. Check-in, he wasn't very happy, and he decided to, relieve himself at the front desk. I guess he drank a little bit too much. He decided to just let fly at the front desk, and it was quite surprising and really stunning.
Wow.
So that's only one of many. There's been a lot of experiences.
What would you be doing if you weren't in hospitality, if that wasn't your full time?
I'll probably be writing books full time. I love to read. I love to write. I've got a ton of books in my home library. I just love books. That's my passion. So if I wasn't fully in the industry, I'd probably be writing full time.
Is there a secret talent that you have that nobody knows or most people don't know?
I don't think so. I'm not as smart as people think I am. I don't have a lot of talents. I'm good at just a few things. My wife would tell you. And I dabbled in singing years and years ago, and I actually was part of a group years and years ago when I was younger. So I don't know.
That's a secret.
I don't know if I was talented when I was doing it, but I did give it a shot. So
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
the power to make people a better version of themselves. Where you just touch someone. We all have things that we want to be, right? I want to be better than I am as a human being. There are a lot of things I'm working on. I'm a work in progress, right? So, but if I had the power to just touch someone and have them transform into a better version of themselves, the aspirational them that they want to be, I really want to be that person. I would love to have such a power. Just touch them, boom, just like that.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah. What was your first job in hospitality?
My first job in hospitality remains the most important job in hospitality, which is housekeeping. So I started when I was 14 here at the Red Lion Inn in our family's hotel. And it was the beginning of a incredible training that I got working pretty much every job in the place, maybe except for facilities maintenance. Although I did a little of that probably on the side too. But
so today, if you weren't in hospitality, what field do you think you'd be in? What would you be doing?
It's conceivable that I might still be in the retail apparel business. You can call it the fashion business if you want, but it was not as glamorous as everybody thinks. And was incredibly satisfying career and took me to a lot of amazing places and worked with incredible people and brands. But there was a moment where it felt like hospitality was maybe the new horizon that I wanted to tackle. But I think if that moment hadn't come, guys, I might still be living in Paris, which might be, don't get me going on that, please.
So I keep asking this on the podcast and everybody says there's hundreds, but give me one. What's one of the weirdest things you've seen in a hotel?
God, I think it was the people who came for the summer and brought 8 cats with them. And we allowed them to bring the 8 cats. And it was just, today that would probably not ever happen. But and I was the housekeeper in that room.
Did you update the pet policy after that?
We did. Yeah, that was the beginning of it.
So who did you admire growing up?
I had 2 grandmothers on both sides who were amazing female pioneers. One in medicine and the other in business. Both of them way before their time and were doing things and manifesting sort of results and careers and having an impact in a way that perhaps wasn't traditional for women at that time. And both of them just remarkable. I think the pioneering aspect of what both my grandmothers did was really probably the most inspiring for me growing up.
What's the best piece of advice you've received?
God, David, these aren't hard questions. I think it was during my time at Limited where I had a lot of responsibility. I was working in New York City and just took on a new role within the Limited where I was for 10 years and moved into another division that we were planning to try to improve and turn around. And I got the resignation letter of someone who was on the team. I'd been there like a couple of weeks. I think I was trying to put my mark on things. And he came to me and he said, I don't think this is for me. I think I'm going to resign. I'm a very creative guy. And I kind of said, oh, well, okay. I'm building a new team. So, okay. And then later that evening, I had a call with a woman who was the head of the division at the time who counseled me and said, just sleep on it. Just breathe through. Don't accept his resignation so fast. You need this team and you need this person, maybe even just for a phase. And I did, and I slept on it, and I came back to him the next day, and he ended up staying with me for 5 years, and he was amazing, right? So the moral of the story is managing reaction, not overreacting, recognizing as a leader that you can stop and breathe and not necessarily make a decision at that very second in a reactive way. So I use that a lot. I say, let me think about it. I'll get back to you.
If you could pick one superpower, what would it be?
I don't know. I think doing all my email correspondence in my sleep would be a superpower. So that while I'm sleeping, it all gets done. And then in the morning I wake up and I can think again.
Yeah.
That is a good
Wouldn't
one.
that be a good one?
What was your first job ever?
So my first job was I was an intern for Andre Balazs, and that really opened up the door for me in the hospitality industry. Funny story, how I got the internship. There was a guy that was asking me out for a date, and I was like, I don't want to go out to dinner with him at all. And then he kept calling and pushing, and then at that time, showing my age here, Babbo had just opened in New York, and they were impossible to get reservations. So he said, come on, you have to eat. I got his reservations at Babbo, just come. And I'm like, oh, fine, I really want to go to a Batali restaurant. So I went, and then we were talking. He said, well, what do you want to do? I was in grad school at the time. And I said, my dream is to intern, no pun intended now. But I'm like, I would love to intern for Andre. And he said, my best friend works there. And that changed the trajectory.
Did he get a second date?
Nope.
No.
So today, if you weren't in hospitality, what would you be doing?
I love to perform. I've always been, enjoying the side hustle and entertainment. It's a very difficult industry, but, would always love to be getting loosey-loose, leftover roles if the opportunity presented itself. But yeah, I do have a side hustle there in LA. But I like using my brain too. And I love the deal side of hotels, love running the numbers, love analyzing markets, which is what I do now. So
if you could take anyone, dead or alive, to lunch, who would it be and where would you take them?
oh my gosh, I was not planning on this. This may be one that I need to cut and think for a little bit. I'm a big Formula One fan, so
Okay.
I'm very excited that they're coming to Vegas next year. I'm actually going to go to the race in Singapore in October. One of my personal favorites is Ricardo, and he races for McLaren now. He used to race for Red Bull and Renault. So just because I have such a crush on him, that I would love to take him out. Because he had said in an interview a couple of months ago, they had asked him, what's your dream race? And he goes, one in Vegas. Wow. And so, so now, it's like Darwin and Cupid are just on my side, and they're,
Where would you take him to lunch?
Lunch? Taco Bell?
Okay. Go through the drive-thru in his car.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Drive through in a McLaren.
There you go.
So what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Don't take yourself too seriously. The world is a complicated place, and you want to be a good person, and you want to, share your experience and your insights, and, it's not worth being petty about a lot of things. And if you take yourself too seriously, not worth it.
You have a secret talent that nobody knows you have?
I'm an amazing parallel parker. So I grew up in the South. So I've been driving tractors and drinking beer since I was very young. And people are amazed. This was before cameras, back cameras. And I apparently just, for an Asian female, have that knack. And I don't know.
Pretty good. What scares you?
An empty bank account, lack of deals. Anyone want to deal with Dream?
Yeah.
This is what I'm here for.
If you could pick a superpower, what would that superpower be?
X-ray vision. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people like invisible, but I think the X-ray vision is pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, I ain't being invisible.
What was your first job?
I had that start in the mailroom scenario as a 21-year-old. So that was my first job, and it was in the national advertising company. I wanted to be a copywriter and be a creative, and they had two opportunities, and one was a receptionist and one was as a mailroom clerk, and I wanted the receptionist job, but they gave me the mail clerk job.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen in a hotel?
The weirdest?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I once in Korea walked into my hotel room, and there was a saber with dried blood on it on the bed. How's that?
That's pretty good. I think you win the prize so far. You could take one person, dead or alive, to lunch. Who would it be?
Hank Greenberg.
Who's Hank?
He's a Hall of Fame, Detroit Tigers Hall of Fame player. And my last name is Cohen, which you may know is of the Jewish persuasion. And he was he was the Babe Ruth, another Babe Ruth of this era, but he dealt with a lot of challenges because of his background.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
It's more important to listen than to talk.
Right.
And people who know me know that that's a challenge sometimes.
What's on your bucket list?
I would like to travel the world like I did when I was 19 years old, meaning with a backpack and seeing the world from that level again, that level of granularity. Because now some of us travel the world, but we don't see it at that level of impact.
What scares you?
The challenges of what's happening in the world, obviously, and the fact that it seems that the divide is growing between people's religions, thoughts.
What's something you wish you were better at?
Pure math, like mathematics.
Who would you rather be? Batman, Superman, or Spider-Man? You get to pick one.
I think Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is the most accessible, still a superhero, seems to get the girls more, which is cool,
Right.
Less breeding. So that's probably why.
What was your first job?
My first job ever was working at a little par 3 golf course down the road from my house. So I was in the little clubhouse taking everybody's money and, giving them clubs to go off on the course and selling them candy bars. It was very, very tiny.
What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't in hospitality?
I'm pretty sure I would actually be a teacher.
We know we could do a whole show on this, but what's the weirdest thing you've seen in a hotel, or one of the weirdest things you've seen?
Oh my God. So listen, it's weird to me. I think everyone would agree, meant to offend anyone, but I used to oversee the hotels for Pebblebrook in San Francisco. And, you always want to see what's in the marketplace and who's renovating and what the renovation looks like. So when I went to see the Villa Florence Hotel on Powell Street in San Francisco, when LaSalle had done the renovation, and they had this very strange, full-size ostrich that was embedded into the front desk. And it is a joke because we had this whole big renovation plan. Pebblebrook has since sold the hotel, but it was what should we do with the ostrich? Should we bring it to the corporate office? Just it's a joke.
If you could take anyone, dead or alive, to lunch, who would it be?
These are hard questions. You guys are putting me on the spot. Am I allowed to say Prince? Because I feel like he was
Absolutely.
So Prince was
Absolutely.
my first cassette tape. I remember being a young girl, my mom let me out in the mall by myself to go buy my first cassette tape, and it was Prince Purple Rain. And oh my gosh, when he passed away, it really cut deep. So maybe it's Prince because I never got to go to any of his concerts.
Got it. Is there a secret talent?
That's a great answer.
Secret talent you have that nobody knows?
I don't know how worthy it is, but I would say if you're doing any kind of pop culture trivia, you probably want me on your team. I'm one of those, work is so intense and, family is intense. So I tend to watch all those ridiculous reality shows just to kind of zone out. So I pretty much know everything there is to know about pop culture.
Name something that's on your bucket list?
I definitely want to make it to the Maldives for sure. And I would also like to make it to Japan someday. So my bucket list is more around travel.
You made it to the end of The Modern Hotelier. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe below. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Make More Media and presented by Stay Flexi. Stay Flexi is your modern operating system for independent hotels. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to go to stayflexi.com, or if you'd rather talk to me, message me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email at Steve.Carran@stayflexi.com. Thanks and have a great day.